Hi, welcome to the Woods Fans. It's Melissa. In this video, I'm going to show you how to rehang a new door. If your door has problems and you need to replace it, typically the door you'd buy at the hardware store needs its holes drilled and needs its hinges chiseled. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this video today. This door behind me, as you can see, has a blemish, and so we're going to replace it. I'm going to show you how to bore the hole for the handle and for the latch, as well as the 3 hinges. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is take a hinge off of the door that is broken, that we're taking off, just so that I can use this as a template to chisel out the hinges on the new door. Now in this scenario, we're going to be reusing all the hardware, so the hinges, the doorknob, and the latch system. So what I'm going to do is measure and make sure that I have everything planned out exactly where I need to cut on our new hollow door. So now you take your measurements, and on your new door, you're just going to use your tape measure to mark with a pencil first where each hinge stops and starts. So now I'm going to take my test hinge. I marked the top and bottom of where I want the hinge to be, and I'm going to measure my inset and then trace around the hinge. Just like that. Now we're going to use a chisel set and make sure they're nice and sharp, and we're going to carefully chisel out around our line, making sure that we don't get too deep. Now my hinges, the thickness is probably about 1/16 of an inch or so, and this is the thickness we want to chisel down into this door. So I like to use a smaller chisel. Take your time, don't pound too hard because you'll go down too far. But we're going to line up here, set it straight, and get your cut. When you're chiseling, you just want to take your time and go slowly. Make sure you don't take out too much. It doesn't have to be perfectly flush, but you want to try and get the hinge when it lays to be as flush as possible with the edge of the door. Now I have my 3 hinges recessed. I chiseled them all out. You could do this with a router, but I just did it by hand because I'm not trying to use any fancy tools. And especially with hollow doors, they can be kind of brittle, so using power tools, you have to be very careful. So now I'm going to remove the doorknob to look inside at the latch plate assembly. And on mine, I don't have a latch plate, I just have the circle. So it's held in place entirely by the insides. And what I need to do is measure here to find the center of that. Now, if you remember, we're reusing all of our hardware. So I'm measuring the center at 2 5/8. A lot of these are adjustable, and they have some forgiveness. You can see this hole inside is quite large, so it should be able to fit even if I'm off just by about 1/8 of an inch or so. Next, we measure the center of the latch itself, which mine lines up perfectly with 44 inches. So now I know on my new door, I'm going to mark 44 inches for the center of this hole, and then over 2 5/8 for the center of the doorknob hole. So now I'm marking 44, which is the center of my latch, and then I'm coming in and marking 2 5/8. I'm just going to mark this with my speed square to make sure that I have it exactly straight across from the latch. So right where that line intersects, I mark my measurement, and then I use the square to make sure I'm straight across. Right where that line intersects is where I'm going to drill. Now we're going to use a hole saw for this, and our drill bit's going to line up with the hole, with the mark. So I'm just going to get that there. You can buy a assembly to make sure that your drill is held perfectly perpendicular to the door. But if you have your door laying flat like this before you mount it on the wall, it's pretty easy to make sure your drill is straight up and down. It's very important you're not drilling at any kind of angle. The other tip is before the hole saw meets the actual door, you want to make sure it's on full speed. So now I drilled down far enough that my center hole poked through the bottom. And this is going to give me a guide for where to place my drill bit and come in from the other way. Now it's time to flip the door over, and we're going to drill from the other angle so we don't have blowout around your cut and you have a nice clean cut. Here's my hole. Just want to double check that it is exactly 44 still. Yep. Now I can line up the center of my hole saw right with that. And as long as I'm holding this perpendicular to the door, the hole should line up perfectly with what I drilled on the other side, and it will come out of the hollow door. Another thing you can do if you're not exactly sure you're holding it perpendicular is put your speed square up to your drill and make sure both directions that you're doing your due diligence. You can see every so often I have to pull the hole saw out and clean it off a bit, just to get that cutting nice and sharp. There we go. Now we have our doorknob hole drilled. We're just going to use our speed square again to take our measurement of 44 inches across to this side, to the edge of the door. Okay, and we're going to find the center of this as well. And this door is 1 3/8 inches. So that is the exact center. Now you can use a hole saw for this too, probably recommended, but I didn't have a 1-inch hole saw, so I'm going to be using a spade bit. So this measurement is 1 inch typically, and the hole we're going to drill, we want to line up very carefully so that we don't bust through either side of the door. There's not always a lot of clearance there. Again, you just want to take this slow and make sure that you're clearing your area every so often so that your drill bit can function like it should. So now you're ready to do your finishing work before you install your door. These are raw and we're going to stain them. So first I'm going to go across the door with about 100 to 150 grit sandpaper, somewhere in there, wrapping it around a wood block just to make it easier to hold. And I'm going to lightly sand the whole door with the grain. This will get it ready to accept stain. After you sand, you can wipe down with a tack cloth or a slightly damp rag. And then you can use wood conditioner, but on these hollow doors, you know, typically it's fine to just stain them. I would definitely recommend 2 to 3 coats of stain, and when that's fully dry, we can install. Now that the doors are stained and have dried 24 hours, they're ready to install. I'm going to take off the old door that has the hole punched into it, and we're going to mount the new door. Now I'm just going to put 1 screw in each hinge, and then close it and make sure everything lines up before I fully install the hinges. So when you're reinstalling the latch, you want to make sure that your little switch here is turned like that so that it catches and goes in the latch on the door jamb. And because mine doesn't have a latch plate, it has this piece which holds the mechanism in there. So I'm gonna put that in. And then these little tabs here get pushed out to kind of hold it in place and tension it. Then you just reassemble your doorknob and you're done. Okay, there you go. Now I have a brand new door installed, and getting the holes bored and everything drilled to reuse the hardware was easier than you'd think. I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it was, let me know in the comments below. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do lots of DIY and home improvement. You can see what I'm up to next. Thanks for watching Welcome to the Woods, and we'll catch you next week.